Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Good morning, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter, and as always, powered by WS Radio. This is your host, Kevin Svek, and on the show today, we welcome Tom Mumford and Chris Dyer of Undergrad. They are joining us from South Carolina. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Doing well, thanks.
How's guys doing all right?
Yeah, how are you guys weathering the storm over there?
Literally and figuratively doing much better than when we started in March.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Are things starting to open back up over there?
Oh yeah, South Carolina's been on the forefront of people opening back up. You know, restaurants have opened, limited seating, bars are opening up. It's almost like a different world than being in the Northeast or the West where you guys are at.
Yeah. I think California they were pretty progressive on keeping everything closed, but things are opening back up. My wife and I actually ate at a sit-down restaurant for the first time in 2 months. It was actually kind of weird.
Oh wow,
it's crazy how much nice. you forget how that stuff is so nice. Going to sit down and have a drink and getting your food brought to you as opposed to eating in your kitchen every night.
Yeah, definitely. It's a weird reality, and we were only removed for it for about 2 months. But yeah,
I'm very happy to be back to it. I'll tell you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm hoping the second wave doesn't happen. I think we're hearing a lot of fear mongering around that. So, hoping we did enough in these 2 months.
Us too.
Yeah. So, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and everything you guys do at Undergrads.
Yeah. So, a little brief background about the company. In simplest of terms, we are a labor-only moving platform that's powered by university students out of South Carolina. So rather than providing our customers with movers in a truck, we just provide them with the movers. And then through U-Haul or other providers, the customers rent and drive their own trucks and typically save about 30% on average compared to traditional moving companies. So we're able to do that because we don't have the overhead costs or liability associated with owning trucks. So we can offer our services to customers at a much cheaper rate than these traditional moving companies.
Awesome. So what were some of the major gaps in the market that led you to form the company?
So they weren't necessarily gaps in the market at the time. So Thomas and I started the company back when we were studying at Clemson University. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was more of a gap that we didn't have enough money. And so we wanted to figure out a way that we could make money on the side without having to get a job at, say, a grocery store or work at a bar. And we also wanted to be able to have a job that we could set our own hours. And so the gap was that.
That's a smart move. I like that a lot.
Exactly. And so the gap was, my mom had just recently moved prior to the idea we had. And I said, oh, wow, this is so expensive. Well, we can charge a lot of money if we can move people. But then the problem was in college, you don't have a moving truck, as most people don't.
Right.
And so it was either buy a moving truck or figure out a way to move without one. And so we decided, well, maybe people will hire us to move their stuff, but not bring a moving truck. And so literally we were not a company. We had no shirts, no logos, no nothing. We just posted this ad on Craigslist and it literally said, 2 college guys will come move your stuff for $30 an hour. That was it. And we got business because when you're on Craigslist, having correct grammar and proper punctuation means you're the best advertising on the market.
Right.
And so that's how it all happened right there.
Interesting. So did you guys start primarily serving college kids or was it just people throughout your whole town?
So that's the largest misconception about our business. We've only serviced about maybe 1% of our customers have been below the ages of 24.
Really?
Throughout the entire lifetime of the company. And so that's one of the reasons we changed to Undergrads as branding. It's because we just have that misconception.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all full residential.
Interesting. So I got to ask, how has COVID impacted your business?
We've definitely been on the luckier side. The reason for that is we actually operate as an essential business. So even when the state shutdown happened, we immediately called the city business and confirmed that we are an essential business. So we were still allowed to keep our doors open, one, which was a huge win in itself. And then two, in the moving world, it's a need to have business as opposed to a nice to have. So if you buy a new
Right.
house and you're moving out, or for whatever reason, it's not something that you can just not do. You maybe can
Mhm.
postpone it, but in the end, you still have to move and you can't move the stuff yourself. So yeah, we've taken a hit. There's no doubt about that. March and April were slower than we projected, but ultimately we've rebounded strong, and the business hasn't taken as big of a hit as many other industries.
We have had to become contactless though throughout the moving process, which is a kind of a buzzword going around now. So whenever we go with the customers, there's no handshakes. They essentially just stand in a different room while the movers go in and handle the job, and payments all done over the phone. So um, that was a new improvement that we made to the business that I think is a good improvement to keep around.
Interesting. So, another question. I know you primarily service people over the age of 24. Uh, does that does that change at all, like seasonally? Because I know, college kids in the fall and then in the spring, there's a huge market for movers. Do you guys do anything to capitalize on that?
Not necessarily. No, it's not our market.
Yeah.
Um, Again, but as far as seasonality, we're a very seasonal industry.
Hmm.
So 50% of your moves done through the entire year are done from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So in beginning of June to end of August, essentially 50% of your revenue is done. So right now we're getting a ramp up from people who have postponed their move from March and April, as well as the busy season. So it's been busier than it should be now.
Awesome. That's good to
Yeah.
hear. So, yeah, just to backtrack a little bit to the COVID questions, I know you guys had made adjustments. Do you plan to keep those adjustments moving forward? When things go back to normal, do you think that is the new normal?
We do for now. We definitely think that that's the best approach. I mean, for the foreseeable future, to keep these
Hmm.
adjustments. Um, it's it's strange to think that the normal that we had before will most likely not be the normal that we'll be seeing going forward.
Right.
So yeah, so we kind of have to adapt for that.
Yeah, that's definitely a weird thought. I feel like moving is just like a really personal experience, or it should be a really personal business. I mean, after all, you're going into people's homes. And
Right.
yeah,
And
I feel like that's a pretty big shift from the normal.
Yeah, not only going into their homes, but you spend sometimes 4 or 5 hours with this customer face to face, and
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
their whole life background. You share your life background, so it's yeah, very personable business. Absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
and then it's
So other than the face-to-face things, do you think there'll be any other big changes that happen to the moving industry?
outside of COVID, you're going to see a large shift in technology being integrated into the industry. The service industry as a whole has been one that's lacked technology. Think taxis before Uber and other areas like this. Moving has not had a business takeover that is very technologically driven, and so that's
Hmm.
going to be something you're going to see going forward.
So like, what kind of technologies do you think are going to be incorporated, and like, how will they be incorporated?
You're going to see a lot of stuff like gig economy platforms. People are going
Hmm.
to start doing that. And then I think one thing you're going to see a lot of is using technology to better estimate the moves. So on our end, we have a machine learning algorithm that we've put in every piece of data we've collected from our customers. And then when the customer inputs their information on our form, we can basically calculate how many movers it's going to take and how long the move will take. But then in addition to that, you're going to start seeing stuff like people sending you a device, or you taking pictures of all the items in your house, and then a machine learning algorithm calculating how long that move is going to take based on pictures and descriptions.
Interesting. When do you think that'll be incorporated into the day to day? If you could ballpark.
Next 3 to 5 years,
For sure.
Oh
for
wow.
sure. I think something that's a more forward looking would be automated driving for these moving trucks. That's
Hmm.
something that's right around the corner for Tesla, Volvo. All these other companies have kind of the forefront of that. When you get into the trucking industry, they're kind of already there. And so when moving hops onto that train in about 5 to 10 years, you might not even have your truck drivers. You might have a lot of these companies being labor only. So it's an interesting transition.
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of technologies are you using currently to define your process?
So we're kind of in a transition period right now. So up until this point, everything we've used has been built by us. So both of us have an industrial engineering background. So we're pretty savvy with computers. We may not can do all of the coding, but we can put together a process and piece the things we need to get it done. Over the last 8 months, we've had someone building out proprietary technology that we're going to transition into. And that's going to be a full app. So think Uber, other gig economy platforms, where a student has an application, the jobs come in, gets posted to the app, they go complete the job and get paid straight through it.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds like you really got it streamlined in there.
That's exactly right. That's why our model works so well, is by taking out the trucks, we don't have the physical overhead. And by taking out all the manual processes, we don't have the personnel overhead. So we've basically created a system that can scale extremely quickly. All we have to do is find college students and advertise, and we're in a new market.
Yeah. So what's your hiring process look like? I know I only have a few seconds left. I know we can get into this in segment 2 here. How do you have pretty heavy turnover if you're using mostly college students?
Yeah. The turnover is around 6 months to 2 years. And all of our onboarding is done through referrals.
Sounds good. Got it. All right. Well, we'll pick this up in segment 2. And yeah, we'll be back in a few minutes. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the AMA San Diego and powered by WS Radio.
A podcast or radio show on WS Radio is a great way to create content marketing. Turn prospects into customers into raving fans. Contact Wade at WSRadio.com or call 866-WS-RADIO.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children.
After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
One person has the power to change the world, impact millions of lives, and leave a legacy for lifetimes to come. That person is you. In the New York Times bestseller, What is Your What?, Steve Olsher, award-winning author and founder of the Reinvention Workshop, reveals his proven process that has helped thousands of men and women discover, share, and monetize the one thing they were born to do. Grab your free copy now at www.whatisyourwhat.com/free. That's www.whatisyourwhat.com/free.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the American Marketing Association San Diego chapter, and as always, powered by WS Radio. This is your host, Kevin Svek. In the studio today, we've got the remote studio today. We've got Thomas Mumford and Chris Dyer of Undergrad Moving Company. And we are talking all about local businesses and bringing them to a nationwide level. Now, before we dive into section 2, we got a quick announcement to get through. Just a quick reminder to go ahead and get your registration to our Cause Conference webinar series. Our first event is taking place on June 3rd from 10 to 11 a.m. It is free to get in, both for AMA members and for guests and future members. The theme of the webinar is to survive and thrive and accelerate your impact as the world reopens. So go ahead and visit the AMA site and get registered for that event. Okay, so to dive right back into our segment here, we left off the first segment talking about the turnover and sourcing people for this moving company. And that segues right into my next point. I know moving, we mentioned this in the last segment, is it's a very personal business. You're going into people's homes, and as you said, you're learning people's backstory as you're face to face with them for, could be all day, just a couple hours, or could be however long. So being as how the moving business is so personal, what are some of the major challenges it takes in building trust as a moving company?
So the first challenge is just the stigma around the moving industry as a whole. So most people have moved before, and many people have had terrible moving experiences. And so you're already at a deficit whenever you start. And the second for us specifically is around the fact that we employ college students. So again, there's a stigma around college kids. Many people think, going out, drinking, fraternities, etc. And so for us, the fact that we want to portray ourselves as trustworthy and reliable can be very challenging sometimes.
So to backtrack to our last segment, what is your vetting process look like for these college kids?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, your typical college student isn't what you think is a trustworthy, reliable mover, but they are out there. The students who are bagging groceries at your local buy-low, the students that are working as a bouncer at the bar 4 nights out of the week to try to pay for their tuition, those are the ones that we're looking to bring on board. And then to keep it kind of very similar to who we're already bringing on board, we rely heavily on referrals. We don't typically bring anyone onto the platform who hasn't been referred. So that's how we keep it in-house, trying to keep the culture the same, and getting away from that negative stigma of a quote-unquote college student.
Yeah, so about how many people do you currently have employed?
We have about 100, and they're all independent contractors. And we'll probably scale up to about 150 this summer, and then give or take, scale back down for the fall. And then we get about 2 to 3 applications a day. It's just which ones are we going to allow to do some moving, and who do we want to bring on board?
Interesting. So yeah, to go back to our first question here about building trust. Obviously, like any type of business, really, where you're in someone's home is going to be super, super personal, and building trust is just everything. I know my dad is a contractor who works in people's homes, and that's another type of industry where there's definitely a stigma around the workers. And I know what he does. It's it's just like the little things you got to go in there. You got to be personal. It's about just making sure the place is clean. Make sure you're not leaving a mess in people's homes. Just doing like the little things that build trust. I'm curious, in the moving department, what are some of the little strategies or big strategies you use to build trust with customers, as you enter their homes?
To start off, it's just showing up on time. 99% of the moving companies don't show up on time, even if at all. So even if you can show up on time, you're ahead of the game by a mile. And then on top of that, it's just polite, friendly conversations with the customers. The students are local, so they've got a lot in common with the customers. And then we always try to figure out their backstory, figure out where they're from, and we sell the experience of a move, as opposed to other companies where they're selling just the general labor to get it into the truck. We want to give you that positive experience of, all right, the guys are going to get there on time. They're also going to understand your backstory. They're going to know what you want to have done correctly, where you want stuff put, while also creating great conversation during that whole process. And then that'll build that trust, because what someone's going to remember is this great experience. They're not going to remember kind of how the move went. They're going to remember, wow, like they went above and beyond to make sure that I was satisfied and nothing broke. And I was extremely happy with how, say, Cam and David did on my move today.
So to backtrack for a second, when you said all the movers are local, do you mean like, they were born and raised in the same town as the town they go to college in?
So all of our students are local university students that service about 50 miles of where they're studying. So say, for instance, for Clemson, we'll service about 50 miles of that Clemson area. And then all the Clemson University students will be our movers.
Right.
And so when you service that local area, you get those local students. And we don't do the long distance moves because we don't have the trucks. But what we can do is, say someone in Clemson needs to send their stuff to Charleston, South Carolina, about 4 hours away. We'll get our Clemson guys to pack it up, and then our Charleston guys will unload it.
Right. But I mean, like, for example, you hire someone, who's at Clemson. Do you mainly look for people who are like, born and raised around the Clemson area? Or would you source someone, a kid who's coming to Clemson from like Seattle?
Oh yeah, we wouldn't necessarily discriminate on that.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's up in the air. It's just as long as they go to that university or have studied there.
Gotcha. So we just talked about the little things you do to build trust. How do you reflect this in your marketing strategy?
Our branding is everything. One example is on most moving companies' websites, you see a lot of stock photos. On our website, there's not a single stock photo. Every single photo is either going to have our mover in it by himself or with another mover, or it's going to have them doing something on the job. We put our movers forefront of every photo, smiling. It's a very unique feel on a website.
And those are real movers on the website.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Like every other website.
Right, because a lot of people don't want to show off their movers because they may not be someone you want to show off. But for us, everything we're selling is around the students. It's our entire brand. It's everything we stand for, and so we put them front and center on everything we do.
Okay, so what are some of your main motivations in terms of like content creation and building trust?
So a good example of this is one of the things we do on social media is we have a mover of the week. And so once a week, we post one of our movers, a couple of photos with them, some on the job, some just them doing something outside of work. And it has their background, their major, where they're from, what they want to do when they graduate, things like that. And that's just a way for us to connect our movers with the community that they're serving.
Make it a little more personal.
Everything is personal for us. That's the way we operate the business.
So are you mainly, is your main form of content marketing social media right now?
Content, yes, but most of our business doesn't come through social. And so we do the content marketing is more brand building on social. And then our low funnel sales marketing is going to be done through Google.
Okay. Awesome. So if you've got a customer and the movers are on the job, what are some of the extra things? I know we touched on this earlier. What are some of the things you do to like go the extra mile? And this kind of segues into my next point about I want to talk a little bit about reviews and how important they are and from a local standpoint. So I guess to sum up the question, what are some of those little things you do, I guess, other than showing up on time and, being super personal that you do to encourage a really good review?
Yeah, so it doesn't start when you get to the job. That's probably the biggest misconception. It starts at the first contact. So the first thing we do is we train all of our representatives who answer the phone lines for incoming calls to be very knowledgeable of the moving industry So that way, when a customer calls, they're able to provide them with useful information to, one, help them gain trust that we know what we're doing at the very beginning. And then once the customer is booked, we send them constant communication of emails up until 48 hours before the move. And then the day before the move, they're going to get a call from one of our movers introducing themselves, saying, hey, my name is Jacob. I'm going to be one of your movers tomorrow with Sam and Caden. And in the morning of, our movers send another text whenever they're on the way. So before the people even get there, there's all that communication being done. And that just helps ease the customer's mind. And then once we're on the job, it's just very simple. Our guys are trained specifically to provide the customer with a positive experience. And so that includes, talking about themselves, asking the customers questions. Most people are interested in learning about a college student's background. And so the guys will have those conversations with them. And a lot of times in our reviews, as we'll get to next, that sort of stuff you see more than even just the moving itself. The people love the conversations they have with their movers.
So do you guys, I know we could probably pick this up in segment 3 here, but I guess we'll start off the next segment here. I want to dive a little bit deeper into reviews and kind of your strategy for getting set up on those, some of the platforms you use and, some of the techniques you do to encourage reviews after the experience. I guess just to end the segment here, what are some of the main review platforms you like to use for the moving niche specifically?
So we target heavily on Google. Google reviews are gold. And then after that, we have Nextdoor and on Facebook. And we've gotten a good feedback from Nextdoor.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll pick that up in segment 3. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, powered by AMA San Diego and brought to you by WS Radio.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McCullough brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcCullough.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McCulloughe. ChristopherMcCullough.com.
Take a break from politics. Tune in and learn something. WS Radio shows are worth your time and are filled with tips and advice. Add us to your lunch routine, and we'll give you a meal for your mind.
Kinja Dixon was crowned the #1 sales executive through hard work, deep thinking, and the revelation of universal talk laws. He now wants to share these lessons with you. Universal talk laws are what you need to know and use in business and at home to have successful and effective conversations. Kinja Dixon shares his wisdom, action plans, and wealth. Each book comes with a chance to win $10,000. Find Universal Talk Laws at KinjaDixon.com.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by AMA San Diego, and as always, powered by WS Radio. In the remote studio today, you've got Tom Mumford and Chris Dyer of Undergrad Moving Company. This is your host, Kevin Sveck, and we are diving right back into segment 3 here. I want to kick off with reviews. Now, Tom and Chris, I know we got cut off by the end of segment 2. We had just started talking about the platforms you're on. You had mentioned you were primarily targeting Facebook, Google, and what was the third one again?
Nextdoor. It's
Nextdoor. That's right.
It's a neighborhood platform where it's like a neighborhood Facebook almost.
Mm-hmm. Is it mainly those 3, or are there any other ones? Are there any other that are like specific to moving?
There are some other platforms that are specific to moving, but we stay away from them. We just don't waste our time on them because the majority of the customers that we're looking for are going to be on those 3 platforms. There's Yelp. Right. This is another popular one. We try to stay away from Yelp because we think it's I don't know. Yelp's been in the news past couple of years about how they handle reviews and pay to play. So we stay away from Yelp just kind of for that reason.
Yeah, not a bad move. Yeah, I think, if you stick with those 3 I know obviously Google reviews is huge. Facebook is huge. They're, they're going to factor into your organic search rankings, especially on local. Does Nextdoor work on that level?
Nextdoor doesn't, but it's odd because we've actually seen a really big return on just a couple reviews on Nextdoor, just overnight. Yeah, overnight.
Interesting.
It's almost like a hyper local review system where you get just a couple people in a neighborhood, and that neighborhood is like wildfire.
Awesome. That's a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I know, because like reviews are always local in nature, but most of it goes down to the city level. Nextdoor goes down to the neighborhood level.
Yep, exactly. It's almost like, if you were to go ask your neighbor, literally, hey, what moving company did you use? Did you like them? That carries more weight than just seeing a review on Google or Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
We think that's why that's working.
Interesting. So I'm curious. I know. So after the move is said and done, what strategies do you use to get people to write reviews? I'm going to start by throwing out an interesting statistic. Over 70% of people will write a review if they're asked to, whereas most people just will not write one unless they're asked. So I'm curious to what you guys do to encourage people to leave a review after the job is done.
So what we found, definitely you're right, asking is the only way to get reviews. And we found that if you ask in person, it increases your chance of getting a review tenfold. So what we have our guys do is, from an incentive standpoint, we give our guys $5 each every time a customer mentions their name in a review. And so for our employees, what they do at the end of the move is they always ask, hey, would you like to write us a review? If you mention my name, it helps me with the company. They don't necessarily say $5, but we give our guys that incentive. And so by them asking them in person at the very end of the job, that increases our chances significantly. And then secondly, we send an email to every customer at the conclusion of their move immediately saying, thank you for using our service. We hope everything went well. Would you please leave us a review? And so at the conclusion of every move, the customer is going to get that email as well.
Yeah, and the immediate factor in that is key. You don't want to wait 2 hours, 3 hours, 3 days to send this review email. You want to ask for it immediately when the service is fresh on their mind. They're still feeling good about the low stress move that kind of the whole experience was. So the quicker you ask for that,
absolutely,
the more likely they are to fill it out. Yeah, and there's a trick to how you ask it. I mean, we've kind of tailored the email over the past 2 years and seen a really good increase where if you just ask for the review by itself, you probably won't get it. Mm-hmm. But if you ask for the review and then put in some reason why, there's statistics behind it that if you put in that reason why, you're going to increase almost by 50%. So it goes from 20% to almost 80%. Just
definitely.
putting in a reason of saying it helps us out, or it's to support a good cause, or to support the students. Just any reason in there really gets those reviews.
Yeah, and I know we found that a big key, instead of just asking for a review, is having, some questions that prompt, not super complicated questions, but like questions that are really open-ended and really spark like a detailed review. Because we found in SEO that like it's those really detailed reviews that are going to do the best for your local rankings. So do you guys have any sort of like follow-up questions you ask, or like to encourage like a more in-depth review?
Yep. Right away on the review email, we ask them, how did your movers do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to spark one, how did the movers do? But then in the email a little bit further, we ask, is there anything we could have done better? How did we do on our end from start to finish? So right there, you've got those 3 questions that they try to answer on the review, and then they add the movers' names, and obviously they talk about the conversation. So our reviews are, I don't know if you've had a chance to see them, but they're quite lengthy. They're not your typical moving reviews. They're like almost all of them, you have to click read more to dig into them. So yeah, people leave us pretty lengthy reviews. I think it has to do, you're right, with the question that you asked, the open questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I know over the past couple of years, we've seen, Google and a lot of the major review platforms, they're really cracking down. Because I know there's been issues with fake reviews and forged reviews in businesses, since the whole concept of online reviews started. We've really seen an evolution. And, Google and a lot of the big review platforms are doing a lot to try and, use AI and machine learning to weed out those fake reviews. And, we found really the best way to combat that, getting flagged is, just make sure you're always encouraging a super detailed review. So yeah, that's really great. You guys are able to do that.
Right.
And yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind if I take that back to a previous question? It just made me think of something I think is really relevant.
Yeah, of course.
So you asked us about our big challenges with COVID, and I don't know why we didn't think of this, but our biggest challenge was Google. So our business is in expansion mode, and our plan was to launch our new market, Charleston, in March. However, when COVID hit, you never think about this until you're in the situation, but basically it hit India as well. And so India is primarily where Google's support staff is located. So they're on a stay-at-home order. And so what that meant was Google functionality went down. Google My Business went down all the way. Reviews weren't getting posted. You couldn't get a new listing up on their site on Google My Business. And so it took 2 months for Google My Business to get back up. And so we weren't able to launch Charleston because we couldn't get listed and we couldn't get reviews for 2 whole months because of COVID, which I think relates right back to Google.
Yeah, and so that equates to 0 traction. Whether or not you have movers there trained or not, you're not going to get any traction because you have no reviews to back up your reputation.
Yeah, that's rough. And it was down for about 2 months.
It just opened up
last week.
Well, last week
yeah,
is when we finally got our listing up, and we had applied for the listing and done all of the work to get it up back mid-March, and we didn't get up until last week.
Oof.
Yeah, and that's every review for every business. Every business went through this, no matter where they're located. Any business that has a business listing on Google wasn't able to get reviews during those 2 months.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right. We've spent the last week just calling every customer that we did a move for over that time, asking for a review.
Yeah, well, there you go. For all the other businesses.
Pretty good success rates with that.
Oh yeah,
extremely
awesome.
When you have that personal phone call, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, definitely. Just to backtrack in, I really like what you said about the immediate factor, because I feel like the immediate factor is not always the case in a lot of industries. For example, like a product, like you buy a product or like a physical product on Amazon. Normally you don't want to ask for a review right away. You want to give them a few days, maybe even a week or so to really experience the product. But I think in moving, that's really different because obviously you want to get people when they're super jazzed that, all their stuff's in their new place. So that was easy. I'm really excited to be in my new place. I think that's a really smart move on, capitalizing on that happy mindset.
Yeah, it's almost like the new homeowner
Yeah, definitely.
vibes that you get whenever you rent a new apartment or buy your first home. You just want to make all these adjustments. You want to start working on the house 24/7.
Yeah.
That wears off pretty quickly. Same with the reviews.
Yep, definitely.
And even with the immediate factor, not only with good reviews, but also bad reviews. So you want to, when you send out these review links, you also want to stay on top of the bad reviews by figuring out which customers didn't have a good experience and then following up with them immediately, figuring out how you can make that their experience much better going forward. And we've turned these terrible experiences into 5-star reviews.
Yeah,
that have actually gone on to Google because we've followed up with them and made them know that you care. That's something that doesn't happen in the service world.
Absolutely. And I know, users and Google love to see, it's not always a bad review that defines you. It's how you respond to it. And I think,
that's exactly right.
Obviously customers love to see that, you go the extra mile, and, Google really, we're seeing rewards you for doing stuff like that. Yeah. So I want to, I know we're starting to run low on time for this segment here, but I want to switch gears a little bit and get into the hyperlocal marketing. I guess we have about 1 minute left. So in the next segment, I want to talk about hyperlocal marketing. I know you guys are using Nextdoor for that, but I want to talk about some of the biggest successes you had, and as well as some of the hard lessons you learned. And also in the next segment, I want to talk a little bit more about expanding from that hyper-local customer base to a statewide level and a nationwide level. So we'll pick up with that in segment 3. We'll be back in a few minutes here. And we will pick up with that. You're listening to This Week in Marketing by AMA San Diego and powered by WS Radio.
Can you help a newborn baby in need? Sometimes the blessing of birth becomes complicated and perilous. Miracle Babies is there to help. Miracle Babies helps moms and dads give their all to their struggling little baby, but still need more. When you give to Miracle Babies, you help them give more. More skin-to-skin care, breast milk, and love. Go to miraclebabies.org and give right now. Be their miracle.
On the internet, your business's reputation can be unjustly destroyed in an instant. Don't wait for that to happen. Building and marketing your 5-star reputation can increase your business by as much as 19%. Take control of your reputation and have the 5-star reputation you deserve with Reputation Marketing Solutions by DSI Development. Become the go-to company by visiting 5starrepmarketing.com. The number 5starrepmarketing.com.
Nowadays, internet devices are an integral part of your home. Everyone in your family has a smartphone, tablet, or a computer. Life is easier knowing that all your devices are secured and your family can surf the internet carefree. ESET Multi-Device Security Pack does just that. One license for all your devices. With ESET, it's simple to stay protected and save money. Enjoy safer technology with ESET Multi-Device Security Pack at ESET.com. That's ESET.com.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goli, one thing that you've helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
This is Bill Gruber with BizVid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. so we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Talk to me.
Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com.
Welcome to This Week in Marketing, brought to you by the San Diego chapter of the American Marketing Association.
Welcome back, San Diego marketers. You're listening to another episode of This Week in Marketing, brought to you by AMA San Diego, and as always, powered by WS Radio. This is your host, Kevin Svek. In the remote studio, we've got Thomas Mumford and Chris Dyer of Undergrads Moving Company. And we are talking all about marketing on a local and to a multi-state, all the way to a nationwide level. Now, Chris and Tom, I want to dive right back into what we were talking about in the last segment here, and that is hyperlocal marketing. We talked about a lot of your successes, and especially using the Nextdoor app as a way to, generate good reviews on that really hyperlocal, neighborly level. So I'm curious, what were some of the hard lessons you learned in the early days when it came to hyperlocal marketing?
Well, at first we didn't know what hyperlocal marketing was. When we started this in college, engineering majors, that term doesn't exist. And so basically, it honestly was helpful in the sense that it helped us just figure out, where do we think our customers are going to find us? And then how do we get ourselves on there? And so our first hyperlocal marketing was Craigslist. Like I said, that's where everything started. And then, your challenge on Craigslist is the people you're going to get. And so when we first started our moves, we were getting people from Craigslist. We're the cheapest option. And so we were going to do moves that were borderline unsafe at some points. As we got onto Google, you think you put your business out there and people will come find you. You don't know all the intricacies of SEO and optimization and everything that goes with that. And so we were just posted, and at the time didn't know any better, but I guess really we were behind the bar by doing that.
Mm-hmm. So you're at the point right now where you're looking to expand beyond that hyper-local, Clemson customer base. What do you see as your most important marketing channels in doing so?
100% Google. Mm-hmm. There's just no question about it. As I mentioned, you think about where your customers are going to find you, and it's not like you're a product where people might find you as they're scrolling through Facebook. I guess you could if you retarget them on Facebook, et cetera. But ultimately, people who are moving, there's a short sales window. Mm-hmm. So they're going to search for movers. And the predominant place they're going to do that is on Google or through some sort of referral. So Google is by far the most important asset for us.
Awesome. So from an SEO standpoint, I know you guys are really laying out your SEO plan, for the short and the long term. What do you envision the progression looking like going from, hyper local? I know you have 4 locations around South Carolina right now, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Okay. So what do you see as your main progression, or how do you see that looking in terms of SEO once, you eventually expand to multi-state and then nationwide and then maybe even global?
So I think one of the benefits as you do get bigger, we're kind of in a phase right now where it's difficult to get into more organic because we just don't have the domain authority. Mm-hmm. But as we get larger, we think it's going to help us launch locations faster. So when our homepage has that high domain authority, the new city page we make or subpage will automatically have a higher page authority as well, which gets our organic ratings up faster. And so we're going to do a lot more stuff, things like this, where you're having these interviews or you're getting press somewhere, getting those backlinks that ultimately gets your domain authority higher to help you launch your new cities faster.
Right. So that segues into my next question. I know like building domain authority, that's not an overnight thing. That can take years and years to build up a really good number. And obviously when it comes to, moving, it's a very, like you said, it's a really quick sales cycle. You want these quick returns in marketing. But also the long-term strategies are very, very essential, for building up that credibility and just sticking around for the long haul. How are you guys planning to set up a healthy balance between that quick return focused marketing, Google ads, social ads, whatever it may be, and then against those long-term strategies like content marketing and SEO?
You have to have both. Right. So the way we think about it is our short-term sales strategies, i.e. advertising, helps to offset the expenses we have for our long-term strategies like SEO and link building, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for the new markets that we're in, we target those short-term strategies. For the old ones, such as Clemson and Greenville, we're working more off brand and building that now that we've got a stable foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not, it kind of ebbs and flows as you get into each market.
Right. And then are you dedicating your longer, the content marketing and SEO? Is kind of your plan for that just to build, really thought leadership content and really just solidify yourself as an authority in the niche, kind of more general than those quick sales focused pieces of content?
Yeah, absolutely. And also we want to establish ourselves in that local community. So that's why we post the mover of the week to showcase we're not someone that's coming out of state to come to a move in your area. We're someone that's could be your next door neighbor coming over to do the move and going to college and really getting you that feel good emotional side of helping out the community in each location. So that's kind of how we want to promote that and just tie ourselves to each location.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think you kind of answered my next question with that. I'm wondering if there's anything else, though. I know you guys are who have an unconventional business model for a moving company. Are there, other than showing the mover of the week, are there any other ways you do marketing a little different than other moving companies?
We're highly digital, so we don't necessarily do anything on print, billboards, over the radio. We focus all of our efforts on the stuff that we can track. So if we can't track it, we most likely won't touch it. So that's why we're so heavily involved on Google and Facebook ads and Instagram and trying to see exactly what our target market is, who's engaging in our content, how we can tweak it, and how we can improve. Because if it takes us a year, 2 years to improve our content, well, you just lost a year, 2 years on your competitor who's probably knocking on your door. Mm-hmm. So we like to be able to stay agile and improve as fast as we can, and that's kind of how we've done it, is just stay completely digital.
Awesome. So my next question is, you guys have expanded from the Clemson area. You're into 4 locations now. What were some of the biggest growing pains you faced in your expansion?
It's really, the biggest one was getting the second location started. Mm-hmm. So after, Greenville and Clemson were kind of very similar locations in that they were geographically close enough to where we could have movers in Clemson who also worked in Greenville. But whenever we launched the Columbia location, that's about 2 hours away. We had never done this before until we had no movers there who could get us started. So Thomas and I had to come back to Columbia and live here for a month, so that we could get this area off the ground. And that was challenging because we had just no idea what was going to happen.
Interesting. So I want to come full circle. We only have a couple minutes left here. I know we had talked in the first segment about, kind of the future of the moving company and the next big revolution, getting those digital images to make more precise, estimations. How do you imagine that'll affect the marketing process?
I think, at least my way of thinking about marketing is just where your consumer is. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, no matter what happens to the marketing process, we're just going to figure out where our consumer is, and we're going to put ourselves there. And we're going to put ourselves there in a way that we think is better than our competition.
So what do you see as the next big revolution in the moving industry?
Kind of what we said before. You've got the tech side where it's going to improve processes, and you've got the tech side where it's going to improve kind of autonomous driving and the overhead associated with all your equipment. Mm-hmm. But where we think a lot of people are missing it is that we're trying to get extremely good at the hardest to replace parts of the service industry, which is the labor. And so we're trying to offer this premium quality labor that just the service industry hasn't seen yet, by utilizing these university students who need money, want money, and have an open schedule for it, and then kind of putting them in front of the customer.
Very cool. So in these last few seconds we have here, say I'm starting a moving company tomorrow, what would the biggest piece of advice you would give me?
Go labor only. Don't
labor
get
only.
trucks.
All right.
Be ready to fight some fires because there's going to be a lot. You can do it perfectly, but you have to roll with the punches.
All right. Sounds great. Well, hey, guys, thanks so much for coming in today. I think we had a really good conversation. And, I appreciate you coming in and chat with me today.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Yeah, of course. You're listening to This Week in Marketing, powered by AMA San Diego and provided by WS Radio.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Tired of presentations with no impact, no inspiration, and no traction? Do dull speakers have you and your team disengaged and distracted by smartphones? Christopher McAuliffe brings energy, insights, and 2 decades of experience, delivered with punch, humor, and heart. Your team will leave energized, uplifted, and with a sense of purpose. Visit ChristopherMcAuliffe.com to bring some heat to your next speaking engagement. McAuliffe. ChristopherMcAuliffe.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Hi, Scale listener. This is David Finkel, co-host with Jeff Hoffman of Scale Your Business. I wanted to let you know that our newest book, Scale, was just released and to encourage you to get your copy. The book will give you 7 proven principles to grow your business and get your life back. Scale will help you work less by getting your business to produce more. Get your copy online or at your local bookseller. For more information, visit us online at scaleyourbusinesstoolkit.com.